So there are a lot of weird giant weapons in the One Piece world, like the giant sword in Elbaf, or the giant sword in Onigashima, or the existence of Long Ring Longland being a perfect circle of islands. What if all of these were due in part to the previous user of the human fruit model Nika? This idea comes to you from longtime subscriber and commenter on my videos, The Will of Dreams, because on my Discord, The Digital Burrow, he left me a message discussing this idea. And I think it's a very good one because it's very possible that the sword that we see that's plunged through Elbaf could have belonged to a previous user of the Nika fruit, whomever that may be. Will of Dreams thinks it could be a giant. Now, on that idea, it would be super interesting that what if the person that we presume to be Oars the First, not the Oars that we see on Thriller Bark, but the Oars that Moria is presumably talking about, because it's been a long-standing theory of mine that those two characters are not one and the same, because the Oars that we see on Thriller Bark is far too small to be the Oars of legend. So, what if the previous holder of the human fruit model Nika was Oars the First? And it would make sense that the giant sword that we see on Onigashima could be his, because it's been a long-standing theory of mine too that the skull that is Onigashima could have been Oars the First's skull. With that being said too, we have seen Nika be depicted with a sword and a shield and a sword and a spear. Now, the interesting thing about Nika's shield, as Will of Dreams pointed out, is that it looks very similar to how Long Ring Longland looks during high tide. However, there is a discrepancy. Long Ring Longland is made up of 10 islands, whereas Nika's shield is being depicted with a circle of 8 dots with one big dot in the middle for a total of 9. However, the depictions of Nika during Elbaf, I don't think necessarily reflect reality. And the reason why I say that is because the two shape languages being presented, one by Nika Shield and the other by Long Ring Longland during high tide, are too similar not to be related in some way. Now, the idea that I believe we're both coming to is that what if the shield was a real object that was left behind, and over time that shield gave birth to the island circle known as Long Ring Longland. This would also explain why all the denizens of this island are weird and stretched out for no particular reason. Now, I will admit it is weird that Nika in this case would have been affecting beings over a period of time through some mutagenic influence, but it's not unlikely, seeing as how mythical Zoans are becoming crazier and crazier as we move through the series. For example, we now have one that can mutate beings into demons through a contract. So I'm just saying anything is up for grabs, especially if mythical Zoans are on a weird deity hierarchy, as I've talked about in the past. So with that being said too, Will of Dreams also pointed out that it's quite strange that those raised in Elbaf have attacks in which relate back to the weapons that Nika had in some way, shape, or form. Brogy and Dory are known for doing a joint attack called Hakoku, or Hakoku Sovereignty, translating to Warrior Nation, an obvious reference to the homeland Wardland, also known as Elbaf. They also have attacks called Sun Saw and Sun Shield, which are obvious references to Nika and the Sun Realm of Elbaf. This is also very interesting because Nika is depicted with a shield in Elbaf. On top of that, we have Big Mom, known for doing an attack called Ikoku, or Ikoku Sovereignty, which has been noted to be very similar to the joint attack performed by Brogy and Dory. This translates to Mighty Nation, but it's also been called the Spear of Elbaf. This makes a lot of sense because Nika has been depicted wielding a spear. Additionally, what's also quite funny about this, her son, Charlotte Katakuri, has been depicted being very similar to Luffy with his usage of the special paramecia fruit known as the Mochi Mochi fruit, but he too is known for wielding a spear called Mogura. This brings us to Haruden, captain of the New Giant Warrior Pirates and Prince of Elbaf, as he, along with his little brother Loki, are the sons of King Harold. His little brother is the self-proclaimed sun deity, even though we know this to not be true. But in his debut arc of Dressrosa, Haruden defeats a very morbidly obese man with an attack called Gungnir. And excuse my pronunciation. This is a spear that was held by Odin from Norse mythology. However, it translates to hero spear. This too could be a reference to Nika, given the culture of Elbaf and how Nika has been depicted with a spear. So with that being said, it all comes back to Nika, and I wonder how all this is going to shake out. But big thank you to Will of Dreams. And with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?